How's it going, everybody? In this video, I wanted to walk you guys through how to incorporate any of the viral images that you might have purchased or have access to through the Cisco website. Now, if you have access to viral, or if you've purchased viral and would like to leverage the viral images inside of GNS3, what I'm going to show you is a way of doing that. Now, I'm not going to show you how to navigate into the VIRL website and to download those. That's up to you to figure out how to do that. It's actually very simple. If you go to download, if you've already purchased VIRL, log in, download the images, and save them locally. You're going to want to save the VMDK, and that will allow you to launch from here. So I'm going to show you guys how to do both IOSv, IOSv Layer 2, and IOSXR. They're all very easy to get working here. So what I'm going to do is click on Edit and Preferences. The next one we're going to take a look at is QEMU VMs. I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to click on the default here. So I have a couple of different options that I want to run with. I'm going to click on Next, and it's going to ask me what the name of this guy is going to be. The first one will be IOSv, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Next, and it's going to ask me which version do you want to run with. The one that I've got here is fine. How much RAM you allocate to it will vary, and I believe I will have to double check on something real quick of how much I'm actually allocating to another platform. So for my other GNS3 server that I've got running, I gave it 384 megs of RAM, and I used the QEMU system x86_64w.exe. That is what I use. And IOSv is the same. XRV, I give it 2 gigs of RAM, but you're not going to need more than 2 or 3 of these when we do CCNP service provider, and I'll touch on that here in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and minimize that. So we're going to say 384. We'll give it 384. You could test with less. I find pretty good. You might want to give it a little bit more, maybe 500 megs if you had the hardware to spare. Give it a little bit more. When you go too low, like for instance, if I did 1024, I give it a gig of RAM, assuming that I've got a gig of RAM to. Well, that was weird. I don't know what happened there. Edit preferences. QEMU. If you've got a gig of RAM to hand out, which I believe I do, memory-wise, yeah, well, not really. Kinda, sorta. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and click on New. It's going to be the default. It's going to be, we could say IOSv, whatever we want to do. I'm going to click on Next. The name is going to be IOSv. Next. I'm going to use this system right here. You could use the other ones in here if you'd like. I find this one to work out quite well. And then if you want to give it 512 megs of RAM, feel free to do so. 512. Next, the disk image name. So the hard drive A. I'm going to drag this off screen. I'm going to browse to it because it's not local to the system. And it knows where the image sits. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the layer 3 image, the VMDK, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Open. And I'm going to click on, bring this guy back over. I'm going to click on Finish. This is the one you're going to want to download, the VMDK. Click on Finish, and then click on Apply, and click on OK. Now if you click back over here on the routers, actually if you click on this guy, then you'll have this QEMU image. So we grab here and we drag it onto this guy. We should have that image available now. If we right click here and go to Start. Now one of the things that you want to be careful of is when you're doing this is you want to make sure that you connect to these devices ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and drag another one, because if you don't do this ahead of time, you won't be able to hot add interfaces. So I'm going to grab here and go Ethernet 0 to Ethernet 0. I'm going to right click here and go Start, and right click and go Console. So this will take a moment for it to boot. This is usually is a 2 to 4 minute wait time, depending on your resources. And then once you have it situated, you'll be in good shape to move forward from there. But that's the general breakdown to go forward. So once this boots, and like I said, it does take a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, and I will bring you guys back in when it's, oh, actually, never mind. It starts working a lot faster than I thought it did. So one of the things that you want to keep in the back of your mind as you're moving forward here is this is running the VIRL image inside of GNS3. So I have noticed some weirdness, and have had the server crash a couple of times on me. So if something happens, it is good for short periods of time. And if you're okay with that, great. I'm okay with that for just testing purposes and whatnot. Usually after I'm done from a night of testing and whatnot and what have you, I usually will go ahead and just save my configs and go from there. And usually everything is quite alright. This does take a couple of moments to boot, so I'm going to go ahead and pause until this guy's back up and running. Okay, so we have our routers up. We're going to go ahead and say, no, we do not want to enter initial configuration dialog. You can if you'd like. It's up to you on how you want to handle that. So we're going to go ahead and let that boot up, and then this will allow us, and when we deal with CCNP service provider, I will test this out ahead of time, of course, just so that we're not, going through it for the first time and I go, oh, well, hey, it doesn't work. So this is obviously for demonstration purposes only. I don't know how much throughput you're going to get. I would never trust this in production. So what I'll do is we'll go ahead and get this guy running. It is a little sluggish because of the amount of resources I've given the box. But for instance, bridge dash domain, so we can do VPLS here. That's a big thing right there. But so far, everything else has worked out for the most part. There have been a couple of issues like default routes for the data plane don't work quite the way that they're supposed to, and things like that. But beyond those, there's a couple caveats that I've noticed that don't work quite right. But I'm not going to sit and try to, figure out all the little details. So that's how you get IOSv to work. So I'm going to go ahead and close that guy out, power this guy off, and go ahead and just delete these images. Yep, I want to delete that guy too as well. Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Edit, Preferences, QEMU, and I'm going to go ahead and New. I'm going to the next, and I'm going to say this is going to be L2. Next, it's going to ask me what image I want to use, which is the one I want to use there. I'm going to give this 512. Click on Next, and I'm going to browse for the image. Browse. I'm going to grab L2, click OK, Open, bring this guy back over, and then Finish, and then I can go ahead and Apply, and then OK. So then I go back to this guy. Now I have L2. So the way this would work is I'm going to go ahead and grab an iOS here and an iOS here. Notice how this guy has the Ethernet, only a couple of Ethernet ports. I'm going to right click here and go Configure. On this guy, you need to go to Network, and you need to bump up the adapter. I would say if you want to run 12, go ahead and run 12. I'm going to click on Apply, click OK. Then we're going to click on here, bring this guy over here. Ethernet 0 connects to Ethernet 0. This guy connects to Ethernet 1. And then away we go. So I'm looking to power this guy up. Actually, yeah, I'll power him up. Start, console. This guy's the same way. Takes a couple minutes. I'll pause until he's ready to go. Alright, so the IOSv2 image is ready to go as well. And so we can pull this guy up, and it's a switch. So as you can see, pretty straightforward stuff. 15.2.4 is the version of code. And again, this is for demonstration purposes. So I can get away with this. And I'll never go out and ask TAC for help, because if it doesn't work, I've ran into a couple of fluky issues here and there, but other than that, you're in pretty good shape. I'm going to go ahead and power this guy down as well, power off, and then the last one we're going to do is going to be IOSXR. So we're going to go Edit one more time, Preferences. We're going to go QEMU VMs, click on New, and then Next. We're going to say XR, Next. This one's going to take a little bit more resources. We're going to say this guy will be 2048 for 2 gigs. Click on Next, and then we have to go find the XR image, which I happen to have available. We're going to grab the K9 version, which is going to give us the ability to run crypto. We're going to click on Open, bring this guy over, and click on Finish, and Apply. Click OK, and then grab XR out, and we're going to run a cable from him, Ethernet 0 to Ethernet 2, and we're going to go ahead and power him up. Start console. This one's a little bit different though because it's a different platform. XR is kind of finicky in some ways because of the fact that it's a different platform overall. And one of the things that's interesting about XR is once it's ready to go and it's up and running, it usually takes a couple minutes for the RP, the route processor, to get fully loaded up and ready to go. But at this point, I've been able to use XR a few times in GNS3. If we get into a situation where it doesn't quite work in GNS3 the way that I'm trying to get it to work, I will demo it inside of ESXi on the same actual version of code. As you can see, it's booting up. 6.0 is not the code version that I usually go with. I usually go with 5.3 or 5.2. The CCIE Service Provider Lab Exam is actually based off of 5.2. So if you're testing technologies that are more available in this version of code, you may not have that code access in the lab. So, or you might get 6.0 as the option, the boot up version, but you won't be tested on 6.0 features. So we're going to let that finish up. It does take a couple minutes, and we'll be back when it's ready to go. Now that we've got XR up and running here, we're going to hit the enter key. And now it's prompting us to log in with a root system username. So we're going to type in Rob and Cisco, type in Cisco one more time, and hit the enter key. And now once this is done, we're going to have to log in as Rob and Cisco. And now we're at the base configuration. So show IP interface brief. We've got management 0. We actually haven't added any interfaces, so right now XR is completely useless to us to actually do any data forwarding because of the connection that we have. So you'd have to actually add in multiple interfaces in order to get this to work. The one cool thing about XR in the newer versions here, you actually get the VRF name as the default, so it'll actually show you the different VRFs you have, because the moment you put a interface in XR into a different VRF besides the default or the global routing table, it disappears from the normal output. You have to type in show IPv4 VRF name interface brief, and then it'll give you the output for that particular VRF. But beyond that, that's pretty much everything that you can possibly run into here inside of GNS3. We'll take a look at a couple other ones. It is possible, from what I understand, to run ASA in GNS3. There is a gentleman that I know online was able to get it to work functionally and test out different types of configurations. I will be taking a look at how that would work down the road, and I will do a demonstration on how to get that one to work as well when we get further down the road. Beyond that, guys, thank you so much for your time and your patience, and until next time, guys, take it easy.